Our very first speaker is Luc Tapella, director of the Institut Luxembourgeois de Régulation, in short ILR. ILR is an independent authority entrusted with the national regulation of electronic communication, frequencies, energy, postal services, rail and transport, as well as network and information systems security. In 2022, Luc has chaired Fratel, the global network of French-speaking regulators dedicated to the themes of cybersecurity and network resilience. And he previously worked in finance and in the space industry. Luc Tapella will enlighten us about the current situation of communication infrastructures here in Luxembourg, and more specifically about the phase-out of copper and the implications thereof. Luc, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. As already said, ILR, we exist, National Regulation Authority. We are present and exist since 27 years, not only active in telecom, but also spectrum management, postal, electricity, gas, railways, airports, and of course also cybersecurity. Today, the subject is more connectivity in Luxembourg. Connectivity first, I think, where do we stand today in Luxembourg? Today, the fiber network, these are figures from end of 2023, over 80% of households are connected with fiber. We have today already also 87% of households which are connected to coaxial cable. This means that what we call, but before was called the very high capacity network, 95% of population have access today of it. So there's only 5% left which still have only copper network. Today, even if we have network which is very performing here in Luxembourg and a lot of people are connected, we still see that 25% of people use copper network, even if they could already switch to another very high capacity network. And then the very high capacity network is only 75%. So the connectivity in Luxembourg is good, but still we need to do a lot of things to get the last 5% to be switched. To get that, first we have to know why is the copper network phased out. I think the copper is a technology, an old technology which has done its time. Its bandwidth is limited. It's not so performing as fiber, for example. The lower reliability and higher latency are also compared to the fiber networks not so interesting anymore for the services and which exist today and which will come in the future. And then, of course, for those who have a few children at home, they prefer having fiber because when you play games and so on, latency is much better and speed also. The other thing is copper network, old networks. The maintenance costs are high because they have to be maintained and changed due to their age. So frequent repairs are due, but also energy efficiency. Today, sustainability is something which is very important, and therefore the copper networks, they are no more what should be a network using energy. How is the copper phase out implemented? The process, we started it in 2023. So the first cut which we did was in March 2024, and we will continue doing that until 2030. So the date is 2030. Normally everyone should be switched over to a very high capacity network, because as from that date on, there will be completely cut off of the copper network. Until then, we will work on phases, meaning every year a few thousand of households will be switched, those who have already fiber, and that they have to move to the fiber network from the copper network. What is the role of ILR? First of all, we have set up with all the operators in Luxembourg that each customer in Luxembourg, private customer or residential customer, company, whatever, will get the same information. Meaning that for the new phase, where the next cutoff will be in March 2025, we, ILR, have contacted these households or companies who will be contacted, who will be with the copper phase-out in 2025. They have received the first information explaining to them that they have 1 year to switch to another network. The operators all will do the same thing, meaning 6 months in advance of the switch off, they contact their customers, and then finally 6 weeks there will be a registered mail to all these customers that they have to switch. So that means the people who have been now contacted have 1 year to do it. As already mentioned before, having fiber in your house does not mean that you have it in your apartment or in every room. So you need some time to do the connections, and therefore it's important that people are getting aware to do it in time. So ILR has a very important role in contacting a lot of these end users, explaining them with campaigns we're doing. And we have created on a special dedicated internet site for consumers, myilr.lu, where you can find all the different dates when the switch off will happen, simply by giving in your postcode. And with that code, you can then easily see when will be the cutoff in your street or in your house. What is the impact? If you don't do it, as of the date where there will be cut off, you will sit in the dark, if I may say it like that. You will have no more connectivity, meaning no internet, no telephone. And we see that for the professionals, even if a lot of them have today already fiber, sometimes they forget they still have alarm systems, personal emergency response systems, elevators or other IoT devices which are still connected on copper. So it's very important in your company that you are not sure that only your main connection is in fiber, that also if there are other connections which might be still on copper, that you check that out, that not devices are behind. Because as of next year and the years afterwards, depending when you are eligible to having no more copper, it will be switched off. As already said before, it's not simply connecting your company, your house, which probably has already been done in the last years, but it does also mean that in the house, the vertical cabling has to be done, and that for that, it needs some time. So it's not because you are 1 month or 2 months before the end date of the functioning of your copper that you should contact your operator, but you should do it now. You should take the time to be sure that everything is happening in time. So you will see in the future, we will continue to update the infrastructures, meaning that the last 5% should be connected with fiber until 2030, and that finally, on 2030, we can switch off the copper network that the operators are operating, and finally that everyone will have a very high capacity network, so to be sure that the services and products which will be offered in the future will be available for everyone and that you can use it. Thank you very much.